Good evening, everyone. The December 17th, 2024 Commission meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners will come to order. Welcome, citizens of Douglas County. County Clerk, would you please take roll?
Yes, ma'am.
For the record.
Commissioner District 1, Henry Mitchell.
Present.
Commissioner District 2, Whitney Kenner Jones.
Present.
Commissioner District 3, Martin Raxton.
Present.
Commissioner District 4, Vice Chair Mark Alcaraz.
Present.
Chairman Ramona Jackson Jones.
Present. Thank you so much, Clerk. Board of Commissioners and the citizens of Douglas County, we are pleased to have with us this evening Pastor Edwin Ford to lead us in our invocation, and we're so delighted. Please stand for the invocation, and after the invocation, please join me for the pledge to the flag.
Amen. Our Father which art in heaven, we hallow your name on this day. As we stand at your throne of grace today, God, we ask you, God, first and foremost, that you would trust us, God, with our prayers and petitions and thanksgiving be made first on behalf of all those who are kings and priests who are in authority, that we may live a peaceable and quiet life with all godliness and honesty. We thank you that your word declares, when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. So, God, you are our creator, and we thank you for allowing us, as we open this meeting today, God, that we give you thanks for all your material as well as immaterial blessings that you have lavished upon Douglas County. We thank you, Lord, for the freedom, God, to meet together and discuss the needs of this county. We pray right now that every municipality that's in this county, God, you will, God, just canvass them this year with your blessings and your favor. We thank you today, God, for this opportunity, God, and the privilege and pleasure of receiving the responsibility to lead and direct the affairs of the businesses of this county, as well as the sacred trust as these commissioners bless you with the peace that we will live both in the public and in a private place. St. James wrote in his word that if anyone desires wisdom, let him ask of you, that you will give liberally and you will not hold them not. We ask you today, God, that you will endow our commissioners with all the wisdom and knowledge that they need to lead and guide the affairs of this county. And God, as we come to the end of another year, we want to say thank you. You've been favorable. You've given us an opportunity to stand again. And God, as we come to this year, God, we pray that you will seal it with your grace, God. We thank you for covering these citizens today, God, our law enforcement and all those who have authority over us, God, with peace and tranquility in this county. But God, let this county, God, be so astounding that nations will observe it, that as we go forward into this next season today, God, we want you to lead the charge for us again. And we'll forever be so grateful to give your name all the praise, the honor, and the glory. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Pastor Ford, for such a wonderful, inspiring prayer across our county. And we appreciate everything you do, and thank you for coming in and taking the time to give us a prayer today. Board of Commissioners, certainly as we start our meeting, just want us to be mindful that we have 3 minutes to make remarks and 2 minutes to certainly engage in our rebuttals. Clerk, did we have anyone sign up for public comment?
Yes, ma'am. We had 2 individuals. And before I call you up, I'll just remind you, you'll have 3 minutes to address the board. Once your 3 minutes are reached, we'll ask you to wrap up your comments. And when you reach the podium, please restate your name and your subject matter. First individual is Amber Walden.
I don't see her in here.
Okay. Tim McMillan is our second one.
Yes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tim McMillan. I am an attorney, and I am grateful and thankful to have served as a court-appointed contract attorney for the Juvenile Court of Douglas County for almost 11 years now. I am currently the longest-serving contract attorney working in the juvenile in the juvenile court. I represent generally parents and some children in dependency cases where children have been removed from their parents' custody for a variety of reasons, and I'm very fortunate to continue to work in that capacity. For the past 11 years, I would imagine, all of the contract attorneys, I believe there are now 6 of us, have all been paid on a equal basis, as our jobs are essentially equal. Cases are appointed to us randomly. There's no order or anything along those lines to our appointment in cases. It's just a random rotation. Parents qualify if they're indigent for court-appointed attorneys in dependency court. Our contracts have fallen under the purview of the Juvenile Public Defender's Office now this will be the 2nd year. And while we had some bumps to begin with, everything has been working out incredibly well and smoothly as far as I'm concerned. In the juvenile court. I'm sorry? Some children in dependency cases.
We have some feedback coming in. Hold on one just second. I'm so sorry. You may resume.
That scared the crap out of me.
Oh, he said, where am I? Thank you.
Recently, we were all provided, and just so you all know, because there are so few of us and so few attorneys in the state that actually practice dependency work in juvenile courts, we all communicate with each other on a regular and frequent basis, not just to talk about cases, but to get advice from other attorneys who are similarly situated, to talk about issues that are going on within the juvenile courts and so on and so forth. So I have a very good relationship with Ms. Scott, Ms. Evans, Ms. Lopez Brown, Dr. O'Brien, and Ms. Walden, who are the other attorneys that are currently under contract. As I mentioned, we've all been paid on an equal basis up until what I just learned recently would be different this year. I believe the contract the budget that is provided for the contract attorneys is around $415,000. And I have learned that we all have learned, to be honest, that 3 of us will be offered $60,000 this year. 1 of us will be offered $55,000 this year. And the other 2, one will be offered $90,000 and the other will be offered $85,000. That is of grave concern to me, as I mentioned, because we all do equal amounts of work. There is a small percentage, small portion, small raise that is provided, an additional funding source, to my understanding, for those attorneys who represent parents in what we call family treatment court. Those attorneys are provided with additional funds because they have to participate in family treatment court procedures, including the bi-monthly meetings that take place with regard to individuals and parents who are in family treatment court, or otherwise known as drug court, in this situation. And those attorneys have been, up until now, Dr. O'Brien and Ms. Anais Lopez Brown were the 2 attorneys that worked and served that purpose, and they were provided additional funds for that work. My issue and my only concern is that that we all be paid equally for work that we equally do, for jobs that we equally have, for services that we equally provide to our clients. And if that is not going to be the case, if there are going to be discrepancies in our compensation, that those discrepancies and purposes for that discrepancy be specifically outlined and provided to us in advance so that we know what we have done or what we need to do or what we may do to be included in those additional funding resources. Otherwise, to me, the discrepancy, which is significant. I mean, when you're talking about the difference between $55,000 and $85,000 or $90,000, that's a significant amount of money. We all have to work, all of us contract attorneys work in a variety of counties because the money that we earn is simply just not enough. I know that sounds ridiculous to think that $60,000 isn't enough to support oneself, but we all have our own bills and we all have our own budgets. And all of us, all 6 of us that are current contract attorneys with Douglas County have contracts with other counties to supplement our income. And we do that because we have to. And so if someone is going to be earning a specific sum of money through Douglas County, we all feel that it's incumbent that we all be earning the same amount of money for the same work that we're doing, the same amount of time that we're putting into these individuals whose sole purpose is to be reunified with their children through the dependency court of Douglas County. And so, again, that is my concern. That is what has brought me here this evening. I mean, no disrespect to anyone, but I wanted to address my concerns. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you all this evening.
Thank you so much, Mr. McMillan. Appreciate you coming in and expressing your concerns. Clerk?
There
we
were
have
no others.
Okay, with that being said, Board of Commissioners, we have the adoption of our agenda. We have an item that needs to be added, and Madam County Attorney, you had one on here that you wanted. So-
Yes, perfect timing. Good evening, Board.
Perfect.
I do have one item to add, and that's the DC blocks right-of-way dedication.
Okay. All right. Board of Commissioners, we need a motion to adopt the amended agenda.
So, Madam Chair, I did have an amendment to the agenda that I want to offer up.
Okay?
That is to remove items 7 and 10 from the agenda.
Okay. 7 and 10, okay. All right, with that being said, we have those 2 items that you've mentioned. Do we have a motion to accept the adopted agenda as stated?
Okay.
Board,
All right, I'm going to make a friendly amendment. I want to amend that to just remove item 10.
okay.
Sorry.
Okay, removal. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to accept the amended agenda as stated with the removal of tab number 10 on the commission meeting, and also by adding, boy, I'm getting it together, by adding 1 item per Madam County Attorney, consideration of accepting the right-of-way dedication from DC blocks. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Do we have okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please indicate by raising your right hand if you do accept. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote and the motion carries. All right. With that being said, Clerk, we have a presentation. We have the year-end review presented by our Chief of Staff, Tiffany Stewart Stanley. Please come forward, and we look forward to this amazing year-end review.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I hope it lives up to your expectations. Good evening, Board of Commissioners. Thank you so much for indulging the County Administration Office with this brief, just end-of-the-year review. So just wanted to start off by stating that this last year in Douglas County has been momentous. With the leadership of our Board of Commissioners and the hard work of our over 1,200 dedicated employees, we have worked diligently to provide superior public service and have proven that our mission is indeed possible. Guided by our citizen-driven strategic plan, we have remained committed to providing a safe and thriving community and enhancing quality of life and citizen and visitors experience across all spectrums by launching initiatives such as our Citizen Service Center and the Douglas County Film and Entertainment Office. In 2024, the county underwent a major rebranding initiative, which included updating the county's website domain, social media, and community logo to unite our assets under the cohesive Douglas County brand. We've continued to live our mantra of One Douglas Forward Together by investing in our infrastructure with projects such as the new Fairburn Road Senior Center, a new coroner's facility, and renovations to Winston Park, Selman Drive Library, and the Boundary Waters Aquatic Center. As part of the Douglas County Reinvestment Plan, the county has also broken ground on new projects such as a new fire station, a new DOT maintenance facility, and opened the doors to the long-awaited Douglas County Drivers Facilities building. This past year, we found new and innovative ways to engage with our community, such as our Inside Douglas County Resource Fair, and encourage volunteerism through our Volunteer Douglas with 3 Douglas County Give Drives for items such as school supplies to be distributed to the community. New partnerships have been forged with community stakeholders such as the Atlanta Braves Foundation, Chick-fil-A, Food Well Alliance, and Home Depot, who partner with us to address issues such as food insecurity, recycling, and beautification. The county has been recognized nationally for our communications department and our beautification efforts to keep Douglas County beautiful, and we've also been recognized on the regional and state level for our Parks and Recreation Department and the Douglas County Youth Commission. As we journey into 2025, we look forward to continuing to foster meaningful connections with our constituents and aspire to our vision of being a diverse, vibrant, innovative, and sustainable community that sets the standard nationally for public service. At this time, we invite you to join us as we take a look back at some highlights from 2024.
Welcome to the 2024 Veterans Day Parade. Introducing the Douglas Forward Reinvestment Plan.
Part of our job is distinctively service, and at the forefront of everything that we do, no matter how much money we spend, that portion of us, that portion of our responsibility doesn't change. We're here to serve the people and those that come into this community on a daily basis. We never lose that. It's always at the forefront of what we do.
So, Madam Chair, I would just like to thank Dr. David Corbin, our county administrator, for his leadership. I would like to thank our managing directors who make up our executive team, as well as our department heads. And mostly, I'd like to thank my other 1,200 colleagues who work so hard every day here at Douglas County to serve our citizens. And then I'd especially like to thank our Chief Communications Officer Yvette Jones and her team, Stephen Oposki, our production manager, Sierra McCoy, our senior media specialist, and AJ Fareed, our production assistant, for that amazing video. I don't think people know how much it takes to make a video like that. It takes days. And so for them to put that together is amazing. I just want to thank them for all the great work they've done all year to make this county, to take it to another level. And so I'll yield at this time.
Thank you so much, Chief of Staff. Certainly, this is huge, a milestone for our county, and certainly you all did the work, and I will ask my fellow Board of Commissioners if we could just stand and celebrate you and give you a round of applause. Thank you.
And as always, thank you to the Board of Commissioners, because without your support and your leadership, we could not do any of the initiatives that we have. So we thank you all for setting great policies, and as always, supporting our administration and our staff. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief of Staff. Next Board of Commissioners leads us into our, certainly our financial report.
Approval of the minutes.
You're right. Approval of the minutes. I love that, my new commissioners, they keep me on task. Board of Commissioners, you have the minutes before you. Do we have a motion to approve the commission meeting minutes of December 3rd, 2024, work session minutes of December 2nd, 2024, and the executive session minutes of December 2nd, 2024? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion in 2 seconds. We have a motion in second. Any discussion? Please prepare to cast your votes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Now we will move into the financial report. Board of Commissioners, do we have Rosalind with us here tonight? If she's not, I know you've had an opportunity to review it. Do we have a motion to approve the financial report for the month of November? Do we have a motion, Board?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your electronic votes. At this time, we will begin with our agenda items, and certainly I will yield the floor to,
I was just going to say motion carried 5-0.
okay, there it is, okay. Certainly, we've finished. I would like to yield the floor to our county clerk. Madam Clerk, you have the floor for our business items.
Thank you.
Okay.
We will start with new business item number 4, approval of a contract with Motorola for a 3-year public safety radio maintenance support agreement in the amount of $881,328 for maintenance of the public safety radio cache, accessories, and peripherals to be funded by ARPA, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review.
Okay. Board, do we have a motion to approve?
She didn't get to present because it wasn't on the.
Oh, thank you. Director Harley, you have the floor, so you could present to the board.
Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
I'm so sorry.
No problem. Good evening, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Board of Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to stand before you this evening. This item is an item for our radio subscribers, and I'd like to provide a little history for the purview of the board. In 2020, we had an overall radio system upgrade in Douglas County that was funded by our 2016 SPLOST. This was for the entire county-wide public safety radio network. And it's important to make the delineation because a lot of times we say radio. There are 3 major parts to this system. The first part being the actual radio towers. The second being the radio subscribers. There are 2,205 subscribers on our radio system, so that includes the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, Douglas County Fire EMS, EMA, E911, Animal Control, Parks and Rec. So we all have a little stake in the radio system. This item on the agenda addresses the radio subscribers and a user agreement for maintenance, because at different times, and I think that this also needs to be brought forth, at different times on this radio system network, there will be things that will come under warranty, that will come from under warranty, things that will need to be upgraded. So the overall countywide system network will always incur some cost at some time within its lifespan. As you know, Madam Chair, in 2022, we actually came before you with a software user agreement, and that agreement was for 12 years with Motorola, and that was actually for the radio towers at $8.9 million. And so now the actual handheld radios that the subscribers use are coming from under warranty in 2025. And so this addresses that for 3 years to be paid for with ARPA. Any questions?
Any questions, board, before I call the motion? Commissioner Kenna Jones, you have the floor.
Does this also cover the radios for the coroners?
Yes.
Okay. And I believe you already said also Parks and Recs.
Yes, this actually covers all of the radios for all of the subscribers countywide.
And I presume Motorola has the monopoly there, the only option.
Yes, and Motorola is actually here with me tonight, as well as our radio system administrator. Yes, it is their system.
I have no further questions, Madam Chair. I yield.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Kenna Jones. Any other questions, board? Okay.
Thank you. I have the next item as well.
Okay, yeah. Well, I need to call a motion on this one. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve tab number 4 with the approval of a contract with Motorola for a 3-year public safety radio maintenance support agreement in the amount of $881,328 for maintenance of the public safety radio cache and accessories and peripherals to be funded by ARPA, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents
So
pending
moved.
final legal review.
So move.
Okay, do we have a second? We have a motion and second on the floor. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Thank you so much. County Clerk, you have
Yeah.
the floor.
Yes, we have number 5, approval of a contract with Motorola for a radio dispatch console upgrade for the primary E911 center and the backup E911 center for radio dispatch redundancy in the amount of $2,498,500 to be funded by the E911 fund balance and $2 million to be funded by the E911 fund balance for $2,372,573.45, and ARPA $125,926.55, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. If you could just shed some light on this subject for us.
Yes, ma'am.
Director.
I came before you all a couple of meetings ago, and so we addressed the upgrades, the necessary upgrade with the dispatch consoles in the primary 911 center. And since that time, our project manager actually worked tirelessly, Julia Janka, and I'd like to thank her because we were able to address the needs of our new E911 backup center as well. And so this would allow us to address both needs because Motorola did inform us that they would be increasing their prices as of January 1, 2025, anywhere from 5 to 7%. And so this addresses those needs at a cost savings of about $250,000.
Okay. Any questions, board? Before I call the motion. Okay. No questions. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve a contract with Motorola for a radio dispatch console upgrade for the primary E911 center and backup E911 center for the radio dispatch redundancy in the amount of $2,498,500 to be funded from E911 fund balance, $2,372,573.45, and ARPA to make the difference, which is $125,926.55, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Do we have a
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Do we have any discussion, board?
I just have a very quick
Okay.
comment, and I'm sure Commissioner Alcaraz maybe to also, since he sits on the Public Safety Committee, but I do just want to commend you and Ms. Janka for working so diligently to get this done ahead of schedule, because that's what we mean when we say we're asking for all of these departments to be responsible with your fund balances, find ways to save the residents so that we can provide optimal service without increased cost to the residents. And so I just really appreciate both of you ladies for working so hard to make sure that that happened. That $250,000 is going to mean a lot for what we can do to move E911 forward.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Kenna Jones. You would like to make a comment? Vice Chair, you have the floor.
Yeah, on our groundbreaking for the DOT building, Julia told us about the savings, $250,000, and that was just fantastic. Not only was that day great for the groundbreaking, but also knowing we're saving money. Anytime we can save money, it's always great, because we always, the public always needs to tell us that we're spending too much, but anytime we can work somewhere we can save money, I appreciate our employees for doing so. And I appreciate your hard work in this, because I look forward for not only this console upgrade coming forward, but upcoming soon, as I keep saying it. I'm looking forward to us pushing the initiative for next gen.
Next.
And I yield back, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
You
just-
have the floor.
Just one. And so where would this put us, though, in the midst of all the things that's needed in that E911 setup? 'Cause I know the next gen is just like right around the corner. So dollars and cents wise, I mean, are we getting beyond the curve, or are we just kind of still trying to get there?
We're still trying to get there.
So we got a good amount of way to go, I guess.
Yes.
Okay,
But we're getting there.
Good.
But we still have a way to go.
good. Well, thank you for all the hard work that you put in, because there's a lot of work that goes in to at least get us to the door. So, and I think we're doing well, and just understand we got a long way to go to
Yes.
get there. So, and I know that, but I just wanted the general public to definitely know that we're not there yet.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. I yield back.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We have a motion and second on the floor. Please prepare to cast your votes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you so much. Clerk, if you could just, Madam Clerk, I just want to just interject just for a second. I noticed that our citizen that really wanted to make a comment earlier, certainly I wanted to certainly entertain a motion, if that's okay, County Attorney, to entertain a motion to allow our citizen to speak.
Madam Chair, I don't think you need a motion. You can
Okay.
just allow the public comment to
Okay.
circle back up to that agenda item.
Okay, want to circle back up, and County Clerk, if you could
Yes.
acknowledge and state who's coming forth.
Amber Walden?
Thank you. Mhm.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Pull this down. I apologize for my tardiness. I live in Atlanta, and the traffic was awful. I wanted to address you all because I became aware recently that there are some disparities, huge disparities, in the compensation that the contract attorneys are receiving in juvenile court. I wasn't really aware of it. I knew that there were some varying amounts, but I did not realize what a huge gap there was in the compensation. The biggest problem that I have with that at this point is that there hasn't been a justification for that huge gap in the compensation. And I do feel like at this point we're kind of left to wonder why. Is it because there's favoritism, or are there other reasons? We are on, I believe, number 8 on the agenda. My name is listed here as one of the contract attorneys, Amber Walden, along with my peer, who I understand spoke earlier, and I hate that I missed it. But I did want to put this forth to you all to consider, so that you all would be aware of this disparity and start asking questions about why this is happening, because it is happening across the state of Georgia. We have some excellent attorneys who are representing parents and children who are indigent in Douglas County, as well as across the state and the other 158 counties. I practice in other counties as well, and whenever I have the opportunity, I do come before whatever the appropriate bodies are, entities, to discuss how we need quality, high-quality legal representation for our populations. And when things like this are occurring where we are concerned about why we are not getting what we should receive, I think that needs to be brought to the attention of folks such as you all, so that you all can take a look at it and determine whether or not things are being done fairly, legally, so that there won't be any backlash, on the back end, as well as being able to keep good attorneys to be in these roles and in these positions. Because if we're in doubt about why the things are happening, you're going to lose really good people. We are not doing this to get rich. We say this all the time. We're doing it because we're passionate about it. But having compensation where we're fairly and equally paid will go a long way to ensure that we are staying in these positions and that you're getting the best representation and the best foot forward from all of us. But when that is in doubt, then things will start to crumble. Things will start to become questionable about, like I said, the motivations for why some of these things are happening the way that they are. I didn't have anything specifically prepared. Like I said, this is happening so often that I wind up talking about it. It just depends on the context, the date, the group that I'm speaking to about it. And I just wanted to make sure that we were bringing that to you all's attention. I understand that if there's a little variance in between the different compensations, that makes sense. If someone has a little more experience, that absolutely makes sense. But typically, we have attorneys who are relatively on the same level of experience coming in, even if they're new to Douglas County. They're not necessarily new attorneys. So my proposal, or I don't know how to present this to you all, but my suggestion is that everyone is paid relatively the same, equally across the board, because there's really no reason that it shouldn't be that way. And like I said, we haven't been given any notification or justification as to why there is this huge disparity for these. It seems like there's just 2 contracts that have this huge amount. And they are the relatively newer attorneys who have been in the county versus myself and Mr. McMillan and a couple of other attorneys who have been here for several years. And like I said, I'm driving in, from Atlanta and making a lot of concessions to do things here because I like Douglasville. I really do. I've worked here before. So like I said, my concern is that the payments, the compensation amounts for our contracts are unjustifiably disparate across the board. I would recommend or suggest that they be commiserate with each other, balanced out, and if there is any variance, that we be notified of that. If there's a way, let's say if there's a higher rate that's possible because we get a certain certification, because we do have that in child welfare. Other counties offer bonuses if you do certain types of certifications or get some certain kinds of trainings. I totally get it. If you're doing additional work, let's say in family treatment court, I get that if there's an extra bump. But that it's not the amounts that are set right now don't balance out to what's actually being done, the work being done by the other 2 contracts that are so much higher. I don't know if do you have questions for me? Or
No, I
didn't
just
know.
wanted to hear from you,
Okay.
Attorney Walden, and thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. Thank you.
Thank you for hearing from me. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
thank you. Madam Clerk, you have the floor.
Okay. We will move to number 6. Approval of intergovernmental agreements with the City of Douglasville, the City of Austell, and the City of Villa Rica for the Douglas County Tax Commissioner to provide tax collection services for each city and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review.
Okay, Board of Commissioners, we have the Tax Commissioner coming forth.
Commissioners, how are you?
We're doing
Didn't
great.
know if you needed me here or not, but
Okay.
I'm here if you have any
Do you all
questions
have
for
any
me.
questions before I call the motion? Board?
I had a edit,
An
but
edit.
not a question.
Okay. All right. I don't think we have any questions for you. All right. You want to call the motion with your edit, Commissioner?
Yes, I would move to for the approval of the intergovernmental agreements with the City of Douglasville, the City of Austell, and the City of Villa Rica for the Douglas County Tax Commissioner to provide tax collection services for each city and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review with a modification that says that the split for the tax fee collected would go to $2 to the tax commissioner and $2 to Douglas County Board of Commissioners.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? Board, any discussion? Okay. Please prepare to cast your votes.
Chairman, I think we need a hand vote since we made the modification.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Please indicate by raising your right hand if you agree with the modification. Okay, we have a 5-0 unanimous vote. Any oppositions? We have no opposition, and the motion carries with a 5-0.
Okay.
Madam Clerk?
Okay, we'll move to number 7. Resolution to establish the charges for street lighting in each street light district to be collected by the tax commissioner.
Okay, you have any questions for the tax commissioner? We need you on this one. And appreciate you coming in, tax commissioner.
We're just helping him get his steps, that's all.
Helping you with your steps today.
During the work session yesterday, I'm sure that you heard former tax commissioner and former county commissioner Ann Jones-Geider comments, and that gave me a few questions that I wanted to give you the opportunity to provide clarification on. So it is my understanding that if the street lights are a tax allocation district, that we cannot charge a fee for the collection of those taxes. Is your interpretation of that different? And if so, could you explain that for me and my colleagues as well as the public?
Streetlights are not an allocated district. It's just like if you have waste, this other cities charge for collecting waste, they charge for the streetlights. You know, we're no different than they are. It's not an allocated district. How can streetlights be an allocated district? They're all over the county. There's no one district, there's just one streetlight that's in. So it's not a district, and I called around today. I called my fellow tax commissioners as well as our president of our association, as well as our attorney for the tax commissioner. And I'm sure you guys are aware of Ken Gerard. I think you guys went to class with him. I talked to him today. Matter of fact, this evening, he just texted me. It's neither of the other. I can charge a fee. It came to me by the previous administrator. I guess you guys wanted to raise the fee on the streetlights. That was done. She asked me if I would do that, and she offered to give me $2 a streetlight. So that's how that came about. She said she didn't want me collecting anything and not get compensated for, and I appreciate that for her, and that's what we've been doing. And it was voted on last time unanimously. If you looked it up, Ms. Geithner voted on it. It's been in existence, and that's basically what it is. But it is not a district. I looked that up too.
And there was some alluding to that there may have been a resolution passed about 30 years ago to address this issue that made it or created this as a district similar to a fire tax district, and that was, I guess, the basis or the belief that this was being taxed or funded differently. Do you have any explanation or response to that?
I haven't seen any documentation of that. I'll ask for a resolution. I haven't seen a resolution or anything of the such. So nobody's given me a resolution or shown me a resolution, if she had one, I wish she would have brought it with her when she, because I think Miss Lisa keeps all the resolutions and stuff. And as far as I'm concerned, I looked for one, I didn't find one.
County Clerk, by chance, are you aware of any resolution?
I am not aware of it, but I have not searched for it either, so.
Yeah, I did, but I didn't find one.
And Madam County Attorney, I guess if we deferred this to the next agenda in January, just to make sure we do our due diligence to look for that and make sure that we're not creating any issues, is that going to cause a problem?
If your street light fees are on your tax bill, that likely would cause a problem, because I imagine tax bills either have gone out or going out. And so they usually go out at the end of the year for collection for the calendar year. I will add, though, that the streetlights being on the tax bill is not illegal. There was much push in the legislature at the state level to stop putting like utilities or trash, streetlights on tax bills, but that bill never went anywhere. What we do know, though, however, when anyone is delinquent in their property taxes, you cannot add in those fees, whether it's a utility or streetlight, trash or something, into the delinquency to try to collect by selling the house on the courthouse steps. You can't add those fees into delinquent tax collection. And so that is really the only limitation. I would have to defer to the tax commissioner about when tax bills are going out, because if they are or getting ready to, deferral will certainly impact that.
They're already out.
So if we defer, you're saying it would impact you, or they've already gone out?
I don't mind if you defer. I want you to do your due diligence. I want to do my due diligence. I've always said defer or find out what we can do and what we can't do, because I don't want to do anything that we can't do. So I would rather defer it. It is not on our tax bill. I have to do the calculations by hand. So I'll just tell you, I'm not going to do the calculation by hand if you're not supporting it. You can hire somebody to do it, and I won't do it. You have a choice. That's basically it. But I will defer, because I need you to find out, because I want to find out and I want to know. So.
Yeah, I would definitely want to find out. It was also my understanding that it was a digital software that would be able to do this and wouldn't require.
No, we do a lot of stuff by hand still, because there's certain things that we can't do digitally yet, and streetlights change, but we're working on it.
We're definitely going to work to get you in the 21st century.
Yeah, we're working on it, trust me. I don't like hand stuff. That's why we come back to you and say, I need to buy this software.
No, I appreciate your explanation.
No problem. Like I say, I want to get to the bottom of it too. If there's a resolution, I look, I didn't see one, because when it came up.
Madam Chair, I would add, though, a deferral would be appropriate. I'm reading the resolution title. There's not a streetlight district, and so,
right.
To the extent that there is language that streetlights are going to be charged for a district, that's inaccurate.
So we need to defer anyway to clarify that language. See, I'm just trying to protect you. That's
I know. But that's why I say it's no district. I mean, but yeah, please.
I yield back, Madam Chair.
Okay. With that being said, any other comment, board? Okay. Vice Chair, you have the floor.
And I think when I'm done, Commissioner Raxon has one. Do you know about how many streetlights?
I don't know off the top of my head. I didn't bring it. I was going to stop and get it, but I got busy doing something else. I was doing a collection that you guys desperately need money for. But I will get it to you.
Okay. Yeah, if you'll just
I don't know the number off the top of my head, but we do have it.
Yeah, if you'll just get us that, I would greatly
Sure.
appreciate it. I yield back, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Raxton, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. So just for clarification, the street light tax district is not an existing district. So this would be net new for Douglas County, or is there any such thing? I just want to make sure I'm clear.
No, what I'm saying is that streetlights are not designated by district, right? So districts would indicate that there's some territorial boundary, and there's not one. It's conterminous with the entire county. streetlights are in the entire county, so it's not a district, if that makes sense.
No, it does. So I'm just trying to get an idea about the resolution itself. So it seems like that there would not be a resolution
Well,
for
no.
a street light district if it's countywide.
It just would be worded differently. He still would like to charge for the streetlights. It's just not going to be done by a district. It would be done countywide.
Right.
Okay.
So yes, you likely will still see a resolution to whatever date certain that you deferred to. It just will be worded differently.
Okay, thank you. All right, Madam Chair, I yield the floor back to you.
Thank you. In order, Board of Commissioners, to allow us to do our due diligence, do we have a motion to table this item? And please, when you make your motion, provide
be
a specific
deferred.
date. Deferred, okay, the word deferred, do we have a motion to defer this item, and please provide a date of deference?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would move to defer agenda item 7, which is a resolution to establish the charges for street lighting in each street light district to be collected by the tax commissioner, to the January 6th work session agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. In a discussion, Board, we have a motion and a second. Please indicate that you agree to defer this item until January 6, 2025. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. So thank you so much. I yield back the floor to you, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Okay, we'll move to number 8, authorization for the chairman to execute the 2025 annual agreements with juvenile contract attorneys Dacia Scott, Jana Evans, Tim McMillan, Annias Lopez Brown, Marcia O'Brien, and Amber Walden, part-time appraisal agreements with Lynn Wethington, Angela Smith, and Donette Chapman, and District 1 legislative aide Sherelle Penamon, pending final legal review.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Madam County Attorney, we have 3 different subject matters. Is it okay for us to bifurcate all these together, or what do you, if you could give us a legal opinion?
We took this off the consent agenda for the purposes of, I believe, breaking it down. Obviously, we can have the conversation about all of the items currently, and then taking the vote separately. The annual agreements with the juvenile contract attorneys would be one issue. Is that what you're identifying as one? And then
Yes.
the part-time appraisal agreement, and then lastly, the District 1 legislative aid.
Yes.
I would recommend that once it's time for a motion to be had, that you take the motion separately, but certainly you can discuss them, all at this agenda item.
Yeah.
If there's no discussion for the other 2 components, though, can we move that to the consent agenda, or now because it's off, we have to handle them?
You could move them to the consent agenda. We would just need to take that probably in a motion to suspend the rules, to amend the agenda, since we're post the amendment of the agenda. And then if that passes, a motion to add those 2 items to the consent agenda. And then when you get to the consent agenda, a motion to approve the consent agenda with the addition of those 2 items.
You want to call the motion?
So at this time, then, Madam Chair, I would make a motion to suspend the agenda,
The rules.
to suspend the rules to amend the agenda.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. Any discussion, Board? We have a motion and a second. All agree to suspend the agenda. Please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries.
Madam Chair, now I would make a motion to amend the consent agenda to add part-time appraisal agreements for Lynn Wethington, Angela Smith, and Donetta Chapman, and the District 1 legislative aide Sherelle Penham, pending final legal review, to the consent agenda.
Okay, do we have a second? We have a motion and a second on the floor. In a discussion, Board? We have
Yes, yes,
okay.
Madam Chair.
Okay, Commissioner,
So,
Vice Chair.
I'm sorry, I'm just a little confused here because I'm looking, and I did not see District 1 legislative aid on this from yesterday. Okay.
It wasn't on there.
Okay. Well,
She's coming. Chief of
So-
Staff?
Yes, so
Thank
when
you.
we went through and we initially did this item was left off, so we added it today since it was a new agenda item, so it will be up for discussion today, because it was initially left off yesterday.
Okay, good. Okay. Can we get an explanation of?
So with that, I would then withdraw my motion and then amend it to, now I'm motioning to move the part-time appraisal agreements of Lynn Wethington, Angela Smith, and Donetta Chapman pending final legal review to the consent agenda.
And if we could just get a withdrawal of that second that we got earlier? I don't care.
Withdraw second.
Perfect.
Well,
And so
let me
the-
finish this first. You have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
She withdrew her earlier
needs to
motion,
withdraw.
and so Commissioner Raxton withdrew his second.
Okay.
And so we are properly within the new motion that Commissioner Whitney Kennedy Jones has made to only add the part-time appraisal agreements to the consent agenda.
Right, and then I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. Please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote and the motion carries. Now, another motion.
Now we can go back to the number 8, what's left of it, which is the contract agreements for the juvenile court attorneys and then the District 1.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Would you all like me to go ahead and speak to District 1, or?
That's probably faster.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
And so I just want to bring this to y'all's attention. So this is one of our standard employment contracts for our contract employees. This contract is for Ms. Sherelle Penniman, who has been a long-time District 1 legislative aide. In the budget, it was budgeted for her to be able to go full-time. That was, the funds were allocated in the budget. And so it's a standard contract. And we're just asking for board approval. If there is a 30-day notice, so there is an out, like all of our standard employment contracts. So the board would just have to give 30-day notice. She would also have to give us 30-day notice if she decides to find further employment. And that is that's the base of the employment agreement.
Okay. So, board, do we have a motion to approve District 1 Legislative Aide Sherelle Penniman?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve District 1 Legislative Aide Sherelle Penniman for the contract as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, board? Any discussion? Okay, with that, can we vote electronic hand again? Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of approval, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 3-2 vote, and the motion carries to approve. All right. Thank you. If you could state your name for the...
Yes. Good evening, Madam
Good.
Chair, Vice
Good.
Chair, and other commissioners.
Mhm.
My name is Ashley Rogers. I'm the juvenile public defender here in Douglas County. I've been with the office since 2018. Prior to about 2022, our office was not in charge of managing the contracts for the contract attorneys. That was the juvenile court's purview. I did look into that and did find that the attorneys have never been paid the same amount across the board. I pulled the years back to 2017, and I do have Chief Judge Harrison here who could answer any further questions regarding any past times when the contracts were with the juvenile court. When I received the contract amounts, they were varying in 3 different amounts. I'm trying to move the county towards more stability in juvenile court. Unfortunately, and as you've heard, many of the attorneys really have to take work in a number of counties to make sure that they're able to pay their bills. And with attorneys taking contracts in several counties comes conflicts in the courtroom and cases not moving because attorneys are in a number of different places. So cases are being continued or they're having to wait a significant period of time for attorneys to come from other counties. So in trying to solve this problem, what I did was we have dropped one contract, and I allocated that to 2 attorneys who have promised to be and are contracted to be, should you approve it, exclusive to Douglas County. So those attorneys would not be taking contracts in other counties to help move cases, to help reunify families. So that is the purpose for those 2 larger amounts. So they would be taking on more cases to help move more families to reunification, as well as one of those attorneys also participates in family treatment court. There are 3 attorneys who support the family treatment court, so they do have more work to do. I do have Judge Harrison here, and she can, since it's her courtroom, she can speak to if cases are being continued and her calendar is being clogged up, things of that nature.
Okay, thank you. Judge Harrison, please, if you would shed some light as well. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry for my festive attire as opposed to appropriate work attire, but as Madam Chair knows, we had a little office party today. So basically what we have across the state is an abundance of children lingering in foster care because of the difficulty of moving cases and getting children into permanent situations, whether it's to return home or whether it's to return to some other family. We're under federal guidelines and state guidelines that require a certain period of time for a child to be in foster care before we start looking at permanency. Because we have such few attorneys that specialize in the area of dependency work, child welfare work, we don't have a wide selection of lawyers that come banging down the door to come work in juvenile court. Several, I'd say decades ago, Judge Walker had decided to take the pot of money that we got from y'all and make contracts as opposed to paying attorneys hourly. Because every year she was having to come back and ask for more money because we would run out of attorney funds prior to the end of the calendar year. The contracts really helped because once we formulated these contracts, we never ran out of money. Anyway, to move it forward, well, when Judge Walker was here, the attorneys, depending on the number of years they had been practicing, they would get a staggered amount. As time went on, when we started our accountability courts and had attorneys that were participating in our accountability courts, we found that they were spending way more time having to deal with Douglas County cases than the attorneys that were just getting child welfare, the run-of-the-mill child welfare cases. So at some point in time, we allocated more funding toward those FTC, family treatment court attorneys, because they were spending more time in court. They have to come to our staffing every other Thursday. They have to go to annual training at the state level, at the national level. There's a lot more involved to being an attorney that's designated for our accountability courts than to just come into dependency court. So that then further differentiated the payments. Back to the issue of moving cases, one of the things that we face, and I'm talking about Douglas County and every other county in this state, is trying to get cases moving. Because all of these attorneys are taking contracts in other counties, which worked out really well during COVID because everyone was virtual, none of us can go back to being in person because attorneys have several contracts throughout the state, through other counties. So what happens now is we can't move our cases along because attorneys are in another court, and we have to continue our cases. I have tried to work diligently with our surrounding counties where we share our attorneys to try to work it out to where we do our cases on Mondays and Wednesdays. Carroll County does their cases on Tuesdays. Paulding County sometimes they take our days and we get trumped out. But irrespective, the judges do try to work together so we can move these attorneys around so that we're all not, overloaded with continuances. So obviously the goal with these contracts were to see if we could narrow down some of these attorneys to commit to only one county and not spread themselves out, and their willingness and commitment to exclusively taking Douglas County. So that entails a further differentiation between the payments. Now, I have never been aware of having to explain to other attorneys under the contracts, justification for the amounts. But it sounds like that is an issue in regard to the pool of attorneys that want to understand why their contract may be a different amount. But that's about the best light that I can shed on the situation. I'm certainly happy to answer questions. I'm certainly happy to assist Ms. Rogers in talking to the contract lawyers if that's part of what we need to do. I do know that Ms. Rogers sat down with Dr. Corbin for hours trying to figure out how to make these contracts work so that we could stop having to continue so many cases.
Board, do you have any questions for the judge?
Probably for both of you, so that's fine if you both want to stick around or sit or come back, whatever. First question, how long or why were the contracts moved under your purview?
So that's actually a best practice, and that came from the state level. It's really just the judges, they should be moved to a more neutral party. And
so how are you neutral if you are opposing counsel with all of the contract attorneys?
Well, and I would love to not manage them. I really would.
So then that would be my first request, is that in January that we put a resolution together so that the new court administrator is managing these contracts so that we are not in this situation going forward, because that was not an appropriate setup. I understand why it was done, but I just don't know how you manage.
Sure. I completely understand and agree. I was very hopeful to hear that there would be a court administrator because I do feel sort of in a weird place, and I try to be, I've certainly never used anything against anyone in court or anything, and certainly never would. I've really tried to be fair and really make sure that we're moving the juvenile court and the families of Douglas County as quickly and efficiently through juvenile court as possible. And I did just want to go back for a minute. As part of our budget, the audit and legal line item of our budget is the most significant. And that out of that is paid the contract attorneys. We also pay the conflict attorneys, so attorneys who are not under a contract but also take cases. And then this coming year, a significant portion of that budget is actually going to transfer to juvenile programs.
How did you identify the two attorneys to offer closer to full-time contracts?
They approached me and said that they would be willing if there was an opportunity for them not to take contracts elsewhere. So that's all it was.
Did anybody offer or ask any of the other attorneys? Because I know Attorney McMillan has been here since 2014, and I believe Dr. O'Brien's been here since 2015. So at a minimum, why were they not asked if they were interested in that?
I didn't ask them. It wasn't out of any malicious intent. I had two attorneys that came to me and said that that was something that they would be interested in. And so that's what I did. I'm working with a very small amount of money, especially since a portion of that budget is going away.
Is there a reason, or, well, before I ask that, what is the actual supplement for you being a family treatment court attorney?
So currently, the family treatment court attorneys are allocated to make $60,000.
So that's about a $5,000 difference from the other attorneys, and that accounts for the 2022 modification in the contract that took everybody from 45,000 up to 50,000. So historically speaking, then the disparity in contracts was only between about 55,000 and 60,000, so not 60,000 to 95,000.
Yes, ma'am. And so the only real difference was that commitment to working exclusively in Douglas County.
Is
would
there a
be the
reason why
differential.
that language was not added to the contract? Because all 6 of the contracts say the same, that they will prioritize Douglas County. Nobody's contract says that they are exclusive to Douglas County.
Sure. Unfortunately, I haven't found that to be the case in the conflict letters, that Douglas County is getting the priority. But I do believe that somewhere it was added, if you could just give me one moment.
And if you could direct us to whose you're looking at, so that
Yes,
we can all look
ma'am.
at the same one.
While she's looking for that, if I could maybe just explain, for those of you that are not lawyers or that have not been in juvenile court in the past, to maybe explain the difference between a conflict lawyer and a contract lawyer. So a contract lawyer is under a contract, they get a flat sum of money that's paid to them, you know, when we all get paychecks. Irrespective of how many hours they spend in court, they don't have to keep track of their hours. They don't necessarily keep track of the number of cases. It's what they get for what they do. Conflict lawyers come into play when, I'll give you an example if y'all remember, which nobody wishes to remember, but when we had that bad mall case with all those young people that got arrested at the mall, and there were several of them, well, only one juvenile public defender could represent all of those kids. We had to go to a list of attorneys who agreed to take cases on conflict cases on an hourly basis to represent all the other kids. So the conflict lawyers come in when we run out of contract lawyers, and then they actually bill hourly for, I think it's a flat rate for in and out of court amount. So like if we had a family of 7 people that needed lawyers and we have 6 contract lawyers, we would use presumptively those 6 contract lawyers, and then the 7th person would get a conflict lawyer.
Makes sense.
Yes, Commissioner Kenner-Jones. In Ms. Scott's contract, it would be paragraph 11, and in Ms. Lopez Brown's contract, it would be paragraph 12. And what it states is that the attorney further agrees that she will prioritize her work in such a way that there will be no need for a continuance of a case due to a legal conflict.
So I don't even know that we can actually do that, because if she finds herself in a superior court matter or a probate court matter or a trial somewhere else that by law takes precedent over the juvenile court's scheduled matter, a conflict letter would still be required. So I don't know that that is enforceable to justify a $30,000 and a $35,000 or $25,000 discrepancy in their contractual pay.
So I did previously have these sent to legal, and legal did approve these. I don't know that we would find ourselves in that predicament, as these attorneys are agreeing to work in Douglas County Juvenile Court exclusively.
And I can assure you that if Tim McMillan ever said that he'd want to work exclusively in Douglas County, we would look to get Tim McMillan exclusively in Douglas County. But he's committed to another county.
And how soon or how long have they been expressing, I guess, an interest in only working in Douglas County?
I don't know exactly. I started working on budget stuff around October. So it was really around budget time. Because I remember saying, oh, this is perfect timing that you're coming to me right now, because right now is the time that we're really ramping up and looking at the budget.
And what would be the time period for them to wind down in the counties that they are already both in?
So it's my understanding that they have not taken any contracts for the next year, and that they will
Attorney
be-
Lopez Brown is in DeKalb County right now, and Deja Scott's in Fulton County, and in Cherokee County, and they're both in Coweta County. They also take cases in Paulding County. So what is the wind down period for those cases?
I have not asked. I have asked that they contractually obligate themselves to Douglas County, and they have agreed to contractually obligate themselves exclusively to Douglas County.
And so if Dr. O'Brien is the child, or I guess guardian ad litem for family treatment court, why is she still only at the 60 when other attorneys who don't do family treatment court are also at 60?
I had moved Mr. McMillan up due to seniority. He was the only one who was moved up that was not someone who was saying that they were going to be exclusive. So everyone else remained the same as last year.
So Ms. Evans was already at 60?
Ms. Evans was previously not an FTC attorney. FTC needed support from another attorney this year, so she became an FTC attorney. And with her becoming an FTC attorney, she did receive a contract for 60, so there was an amendment to her contract in the middle of the year.
So is everybody an FTC attorney now? Is that, am I
We have
understanding
three
that?
FTC attorneys, two parent attorneys, mom, dad, and a child attorney.
And that is Jana Marcia.
Miss Lopez Brown, Miss Evans, and Dr. O'Brien.
And then for the longevity, what was, I guess, the metrics or evaluation for that?
As far as Mr. McMillan,
Mm-hmm.
I looked at who had been here the longest. Mr. McMillan has been attending trainings that are required. I had noticed that other attorneys weren't attending those trainings. Mr. McMillan has made himself available for stakeholder meetings. When he's not available for stakeholder meetings, he has been timely notifying the court to make sure
Did you
that
take
we're
into
aware.
consideration attorneys that actually teach or lead the trainings?
I'm just going off of the attendance sheets.
I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Kenneth Jones. Any other questions or remarks, Board? Okay. That being said, do we have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do have a motion, actually. And Miss Lisa, if I'm moving too quickly, just slow me down. I do just want to make it clear also before I go into this motion that I understand on a very personal level the difficulties in finding quality legal services for specialized areas of the law, particularly in juvenile court, where attorneys habitually think that it is not a specialty, do not give it the respect and attention that it deserves. They think that they can come to Superior or from Superior Court or bankruptcy court or tax court or probate court and do the work that we do on a regular and everyday basis. With that being said, I do believe that all of the attorneys that serve Douglas County's juvenile court need to be adequately compensated, but that compensation needs to be fair, and I'm completely not satisfied with the explanations that were provided. I do think that some of that will hopefully resolve with this moving under the court administration's purview so that we do not find ourselves in this position again. I do believe that Attorney McMillan and Attorney Dr. O'Brien do need to be adequately compensated based on their years of service. Again, Mr. McMillan having been a contract attorney since 2014, and Attorney Dr. O'Brien having been a contract attorney with Douglas County since 2015. I think it would be reasonably prudent to approve both of those contracts based on their years of service at $69,000 per year.
The next attorney that has longevity would be Attorney Amber Walden. And I do think that based on her years of service, the amount of trainings that she provides across the state and the representation that she provides, that her contract at $65,000 a year is appropriate. Attorney Janet Evans, out of the list, is the next in line for longevity. And I do want to be clear that there was a period of time that Janet Evans did service Douglas County as a conflict attorney and then as a contract attorney now. And because she is also servicing Family Treatment Court and because of her years of service, I think $65,000 a year for her is appropriate. And Attorney Lopez Brown and Attorney Scott have been here the shortest amount of time. I have personally experienced the amount of conflicts and continuances caused by all of these attorneys. So I don't think that, and when I say all of them, I mean every single one of them: Deja Scott, Janet Evans, Timothy McMillan, Anais Lopez Brown, Marcia O'Brien, Amber Walden. But with that being said, Deja Scott and Anais Lopez Brown, I think $60,000 is appropriate for their contracts based on the amount of time that they have been in Douglas County. And I would ask that the Board of Commissioners approve those pending final legal review.
Do we have a second, Board?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion?
Just one, Madam Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Mitchell, you have the floor.
Can I get you guys to kind of and legally kind of make sure we got these numbers as we was stated, so I can make sure I got the numbers correct.
You want to do it, Lisa, or you want me to?
You can.
Okay. Macmillan, 69. O'Brien, 69. Walden, 65. Evans, 65. Lopez Brown and Scott are both at 60.
Got it. And my other question would be to the judge.
Yes, sir.
And I guess this would restate or reposition these particular contracts, because I think the way you was designing them was based on them being exclusive to, not that I agree with the whole, but just that's what you were trying to carve out and do.
Which that won't.
Right, I was going to say, so with that being said, I'm assuming this structure would create a different type of a concern, meaning they won't be exclusive, so all this language in the contract will have to change. What's the benefit? And I guess I'm deferring to you, but then I'll probably go back and defer to Commissioner Jones, that maybe kind of what the contractual language would look like that this increase would entail, meaning there won't be exclusive, there will be still as needed. And I think you said there was a contractor, and then there's a conflict.
Yes.
Okay, so just, I'll start with you guys, and then I'll ask and defer back to Commissioner Jones, so maybe she can kind of help with the language of what this may entail, what that
It
one.
also affects the FTC.
Oh, see, now y'all talking attorney, I'm like,
So the attorneys that were making approximately $5,000 more than the rest
okay,
were our our Family Treatment Court, our accountability court folks who dedicate way more time toward parent and child representation in our Family Treatment Court.
They got
So
the
that will-
5,000 for that. The 60, that would
This
take them from
affects-
55 to 60 for Lopez Brown, and it takes Evans
She
to
makes
65.
60 now
Lopez Brown? Why was she making 60?
because she was our FTC lawyer.
Family Treatment Court.
I mean, I will defer to county legal, but it would be my thought process that attorneys need to take an equal rotation, and if their client signs up for FTC, then they need to represent their client in FTC.
Well,
guess-
that creates a whole nother can of worms.
I guess my question then is give me the name again, Ms. O'Brien? Dr.
No.
O'Brien?
Brown.
Give me a FTC name.
Dr. O'Brien is.
Dr. O'Brien. So if Dr. O'Brien was FTC under 2024's contract, is that correct? And that contract was at 60,000.
Yes.
And then for 2025, you're seeking to move to 65,000.
I think
Is that accurate?
No.
Commissioner Kenneth Jones is
No, no.
proposing 69.
69.
But that's,
I proposed 69 for Dr.
Right.
O'Brien based on two factors, her longevity and her work and family treatment court.
What was the proposal in the contract you presented?
60. It was
So it's more,
no.
No.
Well,
For everybody except for Lopez Brown.
all right?
I'm sorry.
So that one should be not an issue for you guys, right? That one has the FTC accounted for the bump for having that specific training. Is there another FTC attorney that you take issue with that does not have the $5,000?
Miss Lopez Brown is the only other one that,
What was Ms. Lopez Brown's contract amount in 2024?
60.
60. Was she FTC in 2024?
Yes.
So what's the consideration for the additional 5,000?
Because that was already factored into her 2024 contract. She was making 60 as the FTC attorney, so she's being compensated at 60 going forward for being the FTC court attorney.
But I don't
And
think
what-
that's,
Her contract has not changed. She was an FTC attorney in 2023 at $60,000, and that, if she had not been the FTC attorney, her contract would have been at 55.
okay, so let's make sure, hold up, because you're kind of throwing all these numbers around, I'm getting a little lost here. Can you guys comment so I can make sure I'm getting what your goals are and what our goals are?
So I think the goal would be.
And I apologize too.
No,
but-
no,
yeah, Okay.
please.
A higher level of compensation for the FTC attorneys. That's kind of what I was getting at. But I am concerned about these numbers. I think it probably would be prudent for me to sit down with county administrators.
And can you do me a favor? I know my engineers in the back are just saying if you would actually talk into the
I'm very
microphone, because I
soft-spoken,
know
I
that.
apologize.
Okay. all
Yes,
right.
so I know that I'm a little concerned with these numbers and how they would fit into the budget.
Okay.
So I
The
would,
contracts as currently laid out by your proposal total up to $415,000 in your
Right.
budget. That would be $69,100 per attorney if you gave all 6 attorneys the exact same amount. So this will actually be under what you
Okay.
proposed.
okay.
Commissioners, I'm going to ask if you all could just speak one at a time. I believe
Right.
Commissioner Mitchell had the floor. then
And I did, but
Commissioner Kenneth
I
Jones.
did ask
Yield.
that she kind of, yeah, I did. So go right ahead, Commissioner Jones.
I was
Okay.
just saying that the total of the contracts as laid out
Mm-hmm.
in the original proposal for the agenda item is $415,000.
Mm-hmm.
That $415,000, assuming we split it equally between all 6 attorneys, would be $69,100 per attorney. With this breakdown of the 69, 69, 65, 65, and 60, 60, we are actually under the $415,000.
I just want to make sure that we're not running out of money at the end of the year, especially because a large portion of the budget is going to fund part of juvenile programs.
And I understand, I get that part. And before I ask for legal to comment, though, just one other question. Who all are FTC? Because I think that's,
Yes, sure. So currently, the FTC attorneys are Dr. Marcia O'Brien, Ms. Lopez Brown, and Ms. Jana Evans.
and it looks as though, if my numbers are correct, that O'Brien is 69, Lopez is still at 60. But am I losing a number amount from the 60? Because the 60 was where it was, correct?
Correct.
Not where it's going, am I?
Correct.
That's correct, okay. And I know it's confusing to me. I mean, but you guys do this. Do we need, is this time of the essence? Meaning, this has to happen today to keep you guys,
I want to make sure that they're paid timely.
Right.
Unfortunately, I ran into this last year when the budget was adopted late.
Got
And
it.
so I wasn't able to pay them, which was not fair to them.
Right.
And I was constantly talking to someone saying, I need to pay these attorneys, because they're still working. They were still
Right.
doing the work.
Understood.
And so I've been working on this for a number of months, trying to get this set so we don't run into that same issue. I want them to be able to be compensated timely.
Got it. Okay. Okay. All right. I do have a couple of more questions, but I got to digest what was just said. So I'm going to yield back. I mean, I don't know if Commissioner Jones, did you have anything to add to this conversation before I kind of give back the floor to the chair? No? Yes?
No, all I'm saying is
Okay.
at all of these rates
The 69,
FT.
the 69, 65, 60, correct? Okay.
has accounted for the length of time that each attorney has been a dedicated attorney in
Understood.
Douglas County. It has also compensated Dr. Marcia O'Brien, Attorney Jana Evans, and Attorney Lopez Brown for family treatment court. Jana Evans is appropriate to have a slight bump over Lopez Brown because she has longevity and does family treatment court.
But am I missing that? Is that Scott? I mean, at the 60, it was Lopez and who else?
Ms.
I left Scott alone because it was my
Scott, that's what
understanding
it was,
that
okay.
she was at 60 last year.
She was not. She was 55.
And she does not do family treatment court.
Then I would bump her down to 55, and it
Okay,
would stay
so-
the same.
Okay, now, Lisa,
Okay.
hold on, Lisa, you getting all this? Okay, all right. So,
So Deja Scott would be at 55,000. She is a straight contract attorney, no longevity,
Right.
no family treatment court.
mhm,
Anais Lopez Brown is a contract attorney and also does family treatment court.
Got it.
And is at 60.
got that.
Janet Evans is a contract attorney and does family treatment court and has been here almost 5 years. Well, really more than 5 years because of her conflict and contract attorney time. So that justifies the 65 for her. Attorney Amber Walden has been here longer than Attorney Evans has been here, but does not do family treatment court, which is why I said 65 for her. Marcia O'Brien is a family treatment court attorney and has also been a Douglas County contract attorney for 10 years, so longevity for her. And then Tim McMillan at 69 because he's been here for 11 years.
Got you.
None
Now,
of them have CWLS certifications or anything additional that would justify an additional increase over these.
thank you for the clarification. Now, I just want to ask you this question, Judge, and you got, how does this look doable, even though there's a savings here based on just the numbers? Does that,
The problem is.
oh, okay, let's hear the problem, okay. Okay.
The problem is that we lose the opportunity to have a way
exclusive.
to have lawyers just working in Douglas County.
Got it.
So, I mean, I don't have a problem with these numbers. I
Correct.
agree with Commissioner
Who's
Kenner
Jones?
Jones that, you know, longevity has to take consideration. The problem is that, you know, we're still sharing these attorneys with other counties.
right.
And they're not coming to, you know, we would like to go back in person, and we can't get them here in person.
Understood, understood. So that's the downside to this.
That's the downside to it.
What's the upside? What's the
They all
good in
get a nice little increase, which I'm sure makes, which
Right.
is fine.
Understood, understood. And I think it too also solves some of the internal stuff that I think I'm hearing. So that might be a step in the right direction. Not that I don't think everybody is totally in agreement to this, but I think it'll be a great step in the right direction as opposed to the current one that I was reading just a moment ago, that was an interesting bump. But I understood why though, so. Okay, well, thank you again, Madam Chair. I'm gonna, like I said, I probably got one or two other questions, but I think I gotta kind of digest what I've just heard thus far. So I'll yield the floor back, and thank you again, Commissioner Jones.
Thank you so much.
And I apologize, legal, was there anything that you was gonna add to that?
The only thing I would add is that if you were an FTC attorney in 2024 and you're going to be one in 2025, then there should not be an additional funding for that because there's no additional consideration.
Okay.
There is additional consideration if they're going to be exclusive to the county, right? And
Yes.
so to incentivize that, I think that's justifiable and something that can be defensible, that we have entered into a contract for a higher amount because we're getting more, right? And so that's what consideration
And
is.
exclusivity too, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, mhm.
So if you were FTC in '24, you stay the same amount in '25, but if you're going to be exclusive, as the judge has explained,
Right.
then allow a bump for that incentive so that they can move their cases.
Yes.
So I don't know how that plays into, I went through each contract and got the numbers that were presented by Attorney Ashley.
Ms. Rogers.
Thank you, Ashley Rogers. There are some differences between Commissioner Kenner Jones's numbers and Ms. Rogers' numbers. And so
Right.
that may need just to understand what the move is. For instance, Scott was 50, under the commissioner's proposal is 55, but the contract presented by Ms. Rogers was 90. Right? And so that's a sizable difference as to, what was presented and what is currently on the floor as a motion.
Understood.
Is $40,000 or $35,000 the incentive amount? I can't answer that. Obviously we would have to get that from them. But she's not FTC either, right? So I think each attorney, let's take them separately if you want, so we can ensure that we are consistent, non-discriminatory, non-arbitrary, and certainly accommodating the incentives that are justified, I believe, but not accommodating anything that we haven't gotten additional consideration for.
Right. And I'll also add to that, though, is that, and you tell me, but I think the language needs to also be adjusted.
Reflect the
Yeah,
exclusivity.
and reflect all of that as well. So, I mean, even after all of this, we still need to kind of go back, because what I'm reading, even though we've changed numbers, still doesn't reflect the numbers that we adjusted it to, because it's no longer exclusive, it's no longer.
And whatever it is that the commissioners decide, I will make those edits and I will resubmit those to the county attorney.
Got it. So I guess in the end, this needs to pass the legal test from you, I guess, until final legal review of whatever we end up here with, correct? Okay. All right. On that note, Madam Chair, I think that's enough. I'll yield.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner. Are there any other questions, Board? Certainly, I appreciate you, Commissioner Kenner Jones. This is your swim lane, and certainly I wanted to respect your recommendations. And also, it sounds with those recommendations that you are bringing forth, Commissioner Jones, the budget would remain neutral. But however, if we look at the others, yeah, budget neutral with the savings. That's what I'm saying, that we're not going to exceed the budget amount. But if we stay with those others that, with the higher amount, sounds like we need a discussion further with the CFO and things like that, so we can make sure we have enough funding to encompass those recommendations. Because you got one, I believe, Scott's was 90,000.
Yes, ma'am. And those were within the budget.
Okay, they would. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we really want to make sure that we solve the inequities and address those. And Board of Commissioners, certainly, Commissioner Jones, if you would like to make a motion, we can go forth.
We already had a motion.
You have a motion on the floor?
I'll
Okay.
withdraw it, and if the second can withdraw.
I will draw my second.
And then I'll take them based on legal's recommendation in turn. And so I would make a motion to approve the contract for legal services between Deja Scott and the Board of Commissioners for juvenile contract attorney work at $55,000.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, Board?
I have discussion, I'm sorry. Do you,
Go ahead. No,
Commissioner Mitchell,
you
please?
might get ready to say what I was getting ready to add.
I believe Scott is one of the ones that has dedicated to exclusivity.
We're taking that out, I'm sorry. Do I need to state that in the motion?
We're taking it out as in
being exclusive to one
Take
county.
that out completely in the contract as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Clerk, did you pick that up? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes, and that's what I was going to add. So in making the motions, let's make sure we clearly identify kind of what the language is, who's doing what, how much, not just the amount that they're getting, but kind of truly what that is that the contract needs to read.
Non-FTC, non-exclusive.
Okay.
Yes.
And then I'll add, and final legal review at the end of that, so we can kind of make sure that at least we get one more bite at the apple if needed.
Pending final legal review.
Correct. Okay, now I'll, that's it.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Clerk, I'm assuming we need to take a hand vote. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. We, no. Okay, we have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Okay. Next motion, Commissioner Jones.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion to approve an annual contract agreement for juvenile services representation for Attorney Anais Lopez Brown at $60,000 per year, a non-exclusive agreement with her representing Family Treatment Court participants pending final legal review.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Board, any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please, if you're in favor, indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Commissioner, yield the floor to you.
Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to approve a contract for Attorney Janet Evans to provide, an annual contract to Attorney Janet Evans to provide contractual legal services for Douglas County Juvenile Court. She is also a Family Treatment Court attorney and needs to be compensated based on longevity in the amount of $65,000 pending final legal review.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Board, any discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. I yield the floor back to you, Commissioner Jones.
Madam Chair, I make a motion for Attorney Amber Walden for an annual contract agreement for juvenile services as a contract attorney in the amount of $65,000 to compensate for longevity as the third longest serving contract attorney currently in the amount of $65,000.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. Please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. I yield the floor back to you, Commissioner Jones.
I make a motion, Madam Chair, to approve a annual contract for legal services to the juvenile court for attorney Dr. Marcia O'Brien, who will also serve as a Family Treatment Court attorney, and to compensate for longevity as the second longest contract attorney for Douglas County Juvenile Court,
Second.
Okay.
pending final legal review.
Okay.
Second.
What was the amount? I'm sorry.
$69,000.
We have a motion and a second on the floor, board. Any discussion? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by raising your right hand if you approve. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. I yield the floor back to you.
And Madam
Commissioner
Chair,
Jones.
finally, I make a motion for an annual contractual agreement for Attorney Timothy J. McMillan in the amount of $69,000 as the longest-serving Douglas County Juvenile Court contract attorney in the amount of $69,000, pending final legal review.
Second.
Okay. Got a second? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. All right. Thank you. That's it. Okay. Madam Clerk, I yield the floor back to you.
And Madam Chair, I would just add that that is a $32,000 savings
Yes.
back to the juvenile court's budget.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Okay, let me catch up here. Number 9 is a resolution to approve proposed legislation to the Georgia Assembly regarding vacancies on the Board of Commissioners pending final legal review.
Okay. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve this resolution?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this resolution with a slight change, that in Resolution B, that what's in Resolution C in Sections D and E mirror.
County Attorney, do you have that
Yes,
information?
thank
with
you. So, we had two different proposals to this issue. One that was submitted by Commissioner Raxton. I think that Commissioner Whitney Kenner-Jones supported, and then one submitted by Commissioner Mitchell. And so I'm not really sure which one made your agenda, so we can ensure that we are approving the right language, or that the motion is reflecting the language that is reflective of the board's wishes.
Yeah, this is the one we did, but this was for the chair. So, quick question for council. It looks like Resolution A is specifically for the chair, and Resolution B is for any other Board of Commissioners. Is that correct interpretation?
I am pulling up the two documents I have. 1 second.
I believe we named Resolution A for the one that Commissioner Raxton submitted, and Resolution B was the one that Commissioner Mitchell submitted.
Okay, so just for clarification, is Resolution A also including the chair and other board members, or is that just specifically language for the chair?
I thought it included everybody on one of those.
Okay.
Yes.
So-
It says specifically the chair there, so.
Okay.
I don't know what's attached to agenda, so I'm just gonna have to.
Okay.
The resolution that I have as the Raxton draft provides in Section 6, the amendment, method of filling a temporary vacancy. Temporary vacancy will be filled by any sitting board member.
And which one of that was you reading? Which one? I'm just make sure I
I'm
get to the.
reading the one, you would have gotten
Right.
an
Is
email
that A
from
or B?
Attorney
Just
Lewis.
A, okay. I
On
got you.
yesterday?
Just, yeah, I got you. I just want to make sure
Okay.
I'm with you where you're reading, that's all.
Okay.
So this is A you're reading from. My apologies, but go ahead.
I just want to make sure that it also.
So Section 6 has a 1, A, B, C, D, E.
Right.
Then 2 has a A and a B. That's it.
Okay.
Yes, that's one I'm looking, okay.
Okay, so that's A. And then
And that's Raxton, right?
that's Raxton's.
Okay.
And then Commissioner Mitchell's,
Okay,
I guess, would be B.
okay. Okay, gotcha.
What you'll see the distinction in Mitchell's version, Section 2 of Section 6
Okay.
has a A, B, and C, where Raxton's only had an A and a B.
Got it.
That's a good way to distinguish the two.
And I apologize, just, so Raxton, so you were just wanting to add one from B into A, to your A, I guess? So help me understand what you was trying to do, so I can kind of
Yep.
gather where you were going with that.
Sure. So in reviewing the resolution, it appears that Resolution A also encounters or encompasses both the chair and other board members.
Okay,
So with that being said, that was my resolution, or the resolution that I put forth.
okay,
And as indicated by General Counsel, the difference then would be in Resolution B, there was an A clause, B clause, and C clause.
right. So is that what you're adding to make
No,
it one, or
no,
you're taking it
I'm
out?
gonna take that out.
Oh,
Because it looks
okay.
like Resolution A encompasses both the chair as well as any other board members.
It does.
Okay.
Right, okay,
Okay,
okay.
so I'm good with that.
So your motion is to approve Resolution A, which would have been the one you submitted.
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor to approve Resolution A. Any discussion, board?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. Vice Chairman, you have the floor.
In regards to this,
Which one is this, though?
I'm getting
Is
there.
it A or B?
I'm going on A. We're moving quick here. I'm going on A. One thing in regards to A, number 2, Section 2B, in the event the unexpired term, vacant vacancy position is less than 6 months, a judge of the Superior Court shall fill the vacancy by the majority vote. I agree with that, but we also need to have verbiage in there that whoever is filling, whatever applicant that's filling those positions needs to live in that district.
Agreed. Agreed.
All right, Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes.
All right, so then 2B of Resolution A would read, in the event that the unexpired term of the vacant position is less than 6 months, the judges, and I'm going to stop right there, the Superior Court, should it just be the chief judge, or do you want all the judges to try to agree on who should fill it?
It should be the chief judge.
The chief judge.
Chief judge.
All right, so that's
Chief.
one amendment to B. The chief judge of the Superior Court shall fill the vacancy provided the applicant lives within the district of the vacant seat.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Unless it's the chair, then it's
Right.
at large.
At large.
Right.
Okay.
And they can-
So with that change, Commissioner Raxton, Vice Chair, you would need to then make a motion to amend
Section.
that section to include your language. We'll vote on that to add it to Resolution A, and then you'll vote on Resolution A with the addition.
Okay.
Does
So
that make sense?
It does. So I'd like to make a motion to accept the modified language in Section 2B of Resolution A as stated with the Chief Judge as well of the Superior Court, as well as applicant living within the district if it is a district commissioner.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Board, any discussion? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Please prepare to cast your votes. I got a hand again. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 4-1 vote, and the motion carries. And opposition is Vice Chair, right? I just want to make sure for the record, I didn't say anything about opposition. Okay, so we have a 4-1 vote and the motion carries.
Now we need a motion to vote on the whole motion with that addition.
I'd like to make a motion, Madam Chair, that we adopt Resolution A with the modified language that has been incorporated in Section 2B that has been approved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. If you're in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. All opposed, please indicate by raising. We have a 4-1 vote and the motion carries. Thank you. Madam Clerk, you have the floor. This is a whirlwind, isn't it? There you go.
Okay, so we are now at the,
Consent agenda.
well, we added one.
Added.
Consideration of accepting the DC Blocks right-of-way dedication.
Yes.
Mr. Rana is going to
There you are.
present that.
Yeah. Enlighten us. Thank you so much.
Good
Director.
evening, Board,
Mhm.
Madam Chair.
Good evening.
Before us is a city development referred to as DC Blocks or DCB. This is a proposed data center. While the entire development and its two main entrances fall in city jurisdiction, namely on North River Road, a third access point at the rear of the building will connect to Summer Lake Road, a county-owned road. This narrow roadway has mostly residential parcels in place. The development has installed a cul-de-sac and is donating 0.476 acres of additional right-of-way to meet the requirements of our UDC, and we're recommending your approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, board, you have any questions for Director Rana? Okay? Okay. Do we have a motion, board, to approve the consideration of accepting the right-of-way dedication form, DC Block?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Please indicate by raising your right hand if you agree. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote and the motion carries. Thank you so much, Director Rana. All right. Madam Clerk, you have the floor. Consent agenda.
Okay, so you have the consent agenda before you, so we'll just need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor, board. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your electronic votes. I said that.
To the consent.
We did add,
Yeah, we can do a hand vote.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to engage in technology, but all in favor, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries to approve the consent agenda. All right. Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. We move into our announcements. We have our own communications, Chief Communications Officer, Yvette Jones, to read our announcements. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Good evening, Madam
Good
Chair,
evening.
Vice Chair, and Board of Commissioners and County Administration. Just a few announcements for you this evening as we close out. Join us for the swearing-in ceremony for Douglas County's newly elected and re-elected officials. The program will be held on Saturday, December 28th at 10 a.m. at the Douglas County Courthouse right here in Citizens Hall. The event will be live streamed on our social platforms and broadcast on DCTV 23. Tune in as we usher in a new chapter of leadership. And Douglas County Public Libraries announces a mascot naming contest. They need your help naming their new library owl mascot. Suggestions are due by Friday, December 27th. For more information, please contact Lindy Moore at lmoore@wgrls.org. And join Keep Douglas County Beautiful for the 2025 Bring One for the Chipper on Saturday, January 4th from 10 a.m. until 12 noon at the Home Depot in Lithia Springs, located at 1000 Thornton Road. Bring your live Christmas tree for recycling and receive a free tree seedling. For more information, you can contact Constituent Services at douglascountyga.gov. And that concludes our announcements for this evening. I yield back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Director Yvette Jones. Thank you. Board of Commissioners, do you have any other comments or anything at this point of remarks?
Merry Christmas.
we'll need a motion to adjourn.
Yes. Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second on the floor to adjourn. All in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote to adjourn. Merry Christmas to the citizens of Douglas County, and we will see you in 2025. Thank you. Good night.